while, and was he in service then between 2013 and 2019? The snooping, the phone tapping.
See, Niranjan, this dates back not between 2009 to 2017 is what you're looking at the interception. But as far as the operations of his company is concerned, it goes back to 2001. Yes, when the company was incorporated, he was not in service. But when we say that he's not in service, what does that mean? Has he taken voluntary retirement? No. He had basically tendered his resignation to the government of Maharashtra. That wasn't accepted, as I understand, because there were departmental inquiries against him. That is the reason why the resignation was not accepted. For several years thereafter, when it turns out is that he went back to certain corporate companies. There were some multiple roles in which he was actually employed. And then suddenly, one fine day, he goes to the apex court and then says that his resignation has not been accepted by the government of Maharashtra. Because of that, he should be once again given the opportunity to serve the state. So he was reinstated on the directions of the court. But what is important here is that once he was brought in, he has served at multiple roles. So remember, he was not only the Commissioner of Police in Mumbai, but he was also the DGP of Maharashtra. These postings have happened. He was a DG rank officer. There are several other departments that he has actually been at the helm of affairs. But having said that, once he had actually returned, did he actually tell the government of Maharashtra about the business dealings that he has? Or was there any sort of declaration that was actually made? If not, that becomes a crime. And secondly, what is even more important here is the fact that this company still existed. And while he would like everyone to believe that it is his mother who is actually running the company, it's absolutely false. Because it turns out that even after stepping down as the director, he's still a stakeholder in this company. He's also the person who's receiving the checks. The checks were in his name. So if he was actually receiving the checks in his name, how is it possible that he can distance himself? And that is exactly why the Enforcement Directorate is placing him under arrest, where they're essentially saying two things. One, that you were aware of what was happening. You were aware that this was not a periodic study of cyber vulnerabilities, but rather this was an attempt to carry out illegal interception. And that is exactly what they did. Illegal interception of not one person, as I was pointing out, Niranjan, but 91 employees of the National Stock Exchange were being intercepted by this particular company. What does this company do? They bring in these machines, put the machines inside the National Stock Exchange at the upper basement in the National Stock Exchange. Then they carry out this entire process. And thereafter, periodically, they start submitting reports of the call records. They submit the transcripts of the call records to whom? To Ravi Narayan and Chitra Ramakrishna. And let's not forget, there is evidence to the effect that there was an email that was sent out by Chitra Ramakrishna to her juniors stating that this particular company, ISEC Securities Private Limited, would carry out what she called was the periodic study of cyber vulnerability. So in the garb of that, they carried out the illegal interception. And as the Enforcement Directorate is saying two things. One, they had flouted the laid down protocols, that is, no permission was taken from the Ministry of Home Affairs. And point number two is the fact that they did not even bother to do any due diligence. They should have done a market survey of the kind of firms that basically carry out this kind of a study in the first place. They didn't have any intention of any kind of study or of the cyber vulnerability, looking at the grid of the security in the National Stock Exchange. In their mind, they wanted to carry out the illegal interception. And that's exactly what has actually happened in this particular case.
Okay, stay with me. Let me try and go across to Piyush Shori, and then Ravi Srivastava is also with us. I'll get in a question from him as well. Piyush, you've been staking out outside the Enforcement Directorate. Charges are serious. Why don't you tell our viewers, if they're watching this broadcast, what the focus of the Enforcement Directorate is on in this case? Are there bigger names, perhaps, in the phone tapping scandal?
Well, as Shravan's rightly pointed out, and I think even now the investigations are going to reveal that, many can of worms are now going to come out, when, the ED is going to confront Sanjay Pandey, Chitra Ramakrishnan, and Ravi Narayan in this case. And yes, there are going to be a lot of questions that are now going to be unearthed of why these illegal interceptions were being carried out at the first place. The charges are extremely serious. NSC is a big organization. There are trades, which happens of lakhs of crores which are happening in NSC. So what was the intent of, these illegal interceptions? This needs to be found out. As of now, it's still not being clear of why these illegal interceptions were being carried out and for what purposes was being carried out. It can be a matter of corruption, or it can be a matter of great national security, which is into consideration. So there is going to be a lot which ED officials now would be finding about these illegal interceptions, for which Sanjay Pandey, the former top cop of Mumbai police, has been arrested. Back to you, Niranjan.
Let me also bring in Ravi Srivastav. Ravi Srivastav, what will you say right now? You see the way there was a section in the media which tried to black out a story that we have been following over the last 14 days, following which we finally see a man who was exposed by Republic TV finally being arrested by the Enforcement Directorate.
Niranjan, first of all, let me congratulate Republic TV for doing this tireless reporting and the way you have followed up the story, which has now concluded into the arrest of the Sanjay Pandey. Let me tell you, I have been a government official for almost 3 decades, and this is a classic case of impropriety. Impropriety in the sense, Mr. Sanjay Pandey was running the Benami firm in the name of his mother, and sometimes they were snooping on the NSE employees. If you recall the Chitra Ramakrishnan, when she was caught, she had said that she was taking some advice from some yogi, etc. And some mails were being sent over to that yogi for getting the advice for running the organization. The Chitra Ramakrishnan, Ravi Narayan, they are the both. I think they should be the next to be brought in, and the main reason behind this is that NSE, the majority of the people who were the employees, probably they were into the insider trading, and that would now be exposed because this lady Chitra and his accomplices, they were keeping an eye on the employees. They were snooping on them, that what are their actions, and they were trying to find it out. I think this will open a Pandora box, and this ISEC, the company which is either earlier Benami holder